At first glance, chess can seem strangely simple. A silent board, 32 pieces, two people sitting across from one another, barely speaking. And yet for centuries, human beings have continued to return to this game. Kings studied it. Soldiers carried it through wars. Writers, philosophers, revolutionaries, and scientists became obsessed with it. Not because chess is simply a game of intelligence, but because hidden inside the game are patterns that extend far beyond the board itself. Chess rewards patience, punishes impulsiveness, demands discipline, forces adaptation, and over time, many players begin to realize something unusual. The lessons learned while sitting quietly in front of 64 squares often begin to appear elsewhere in life. Not because life is literally a chess game, but because both require the same uncomfortable things from us: clarity, restraint, awareness, and the ability to think beyond the immediate moment in front of us. The hidden wisdom of chess is not really about winning. It is about learning how to move through complexity without losing yourself in reaction. And perhaps that is one of the reasons the game has survived for so long. Because beneath the competition, chess teaches people how to think. In chess, beginners often want immediate results. They attack too early, move too quickly, force action before the position is ready. There is a natural impatience to it, the desire to make something happen. And outside the game, people often struggle with the same instinct. We want visible progress immediately. We want certainty quickly. We want our efforts to produce results now. But strong chess players understand something different. A good position is rarely built through rushed aggression. It is built slowly, piece by piece, move by move. Sometimes through quiet preparation that, to an untrained eye, looks like nothing is happening at all. And this can feel uncomfortable in a world obsessed with speed, because patience often appears invisible. There are periods in life where growth does not look dramatic, where improvement is happening beneath the surface, where foundations are being built quietly. But many people abandon good positions simply because they do not see immediate results. They confuse movement with progress. In chess, patience is not passivity. A patient player is not inactive. They are observing, preparing, waiting for the right moment instead of forcing the wrong one. And perhaps life asks for a similar kind of patience from us. Not endless hesitation, but the ability to tolerate gradual progress without panicking. The ability to keep building even when the results are not yet visible. Because sometimes the most important changes happen slowly, quietly, almost invisibly at first. Chess also teaches something else that becomes increasingly important with experience: the difference between reacting and thinking strategically. Beginners often focus only on the next move. They respond emotionally to whatever is directly in front of them. A threat appears. They panic. An opportunity appears. They rush towards it immediately. But stronger players begin thinking differently. Before touching a piece, they are already considering future consequences. If I move here, what changes later? What weaknesses appear? What possibilities disappear? Because every move in chess creates a new position, and every position shapes the moves that become available afterward. Over time, players begin to understand that short-term decisions can quietly create long-term problems. And outside the game, this pattern appears constantly. People sacrifice long-term peace for temporary comfort, long-term health for immediate pleasure, long-term meaning for short-term validation. Many lives become reactive rather than intentional, not because people are incapable of thinking deeply, but because reacting is easier than pausing long enough to see the larger position. Strategic thinking requires distance from emotion. It requires the ability to step back and ask, where is this leading? Not just tomorrow, not just next week, but years from now. And chess teaches this lesson repeatedly. A move that feels satisfying in the moment can quietly weaken everything that follows, while a move that appears slow or unexciting may later reveal itself as the foundation of an entire position. This is one of the hidden truths inside chess. Good decisions are not always emotionally satisfying in the present moment. Sometimes wisdom looks quiet. Sometimes intelligence looks patient. Sometimes the strongest move on the board is the move that protects the future instead of feeding the ego. But even a good strategy can fail if the timing is wrong. And this is another lesson hidden deep inside chess. Inexperienced players often believe that a good move is simply a good move. But stronger players understand something subtler. A move can be correct and still fail because it was played too early. An attack launched before preparation collapses. A sacrifice made before the position is ready becomes meaningless. An opportunity forced at the wrong moment creates weakness instead of progress. Timing changes everything. And outside the game, people often struggle with this as well. Sometimes we try to become something before we are prepared for it. We force decisions too early, rush growth, rush relationships, rush success, rush change. There is a difference between movement and readiness. Chess teaches players to recognize this difference. Sometimes the correct decision is not immediate action. Sometimes the correct decision is preparation. Waiting is difficult because it can feel passive. But in reality, proper timing often requires discipline. It requires resisting the emotional urge to move simply because silence feels uncomfortable. And modern life rarely encourages this kind of restraint. Everything pushes toward urgency, immediate opinions, immediate success, immediate visibility. But many things develop properly only with time, trust, skill, understanding, clarity. A player who moves too soon can destroy a strong position. And people sometimes do the same thing in life. Not because they lacked potential, but because they confused impatience with progress. One of the most difficult lessons in chess is the idea of sacrifice. At first, this seems irrational. Why would someone willingly give up a valuable piece? But experienced players understand something beginners often do not. Trying to hold on to everything can weaken the entire position. Sometimes a temporary loss creates long-term strength. A sacrifice piece may open space, create initiative, disrupt the opponent, protect the future. And outside the game, sacrifice appears everywhere meaningful things are built. People sacrifice comfort to develop discipline, sacrifice certainty to pursue change, sacrifice temporary pleasure for long-term stability, sacrifice old identities in order to grow into new ones. But modern culture often teaches the opposite. Keep everything, lose nothing, maximize comfort, avoid difficulty. And yet many meaningful things require letting go of something first. Time, energy, convenience, ego. Chess teaches players that refusing to sacrifice can become its own form of weakness. Because a player obsessed with protecting every piece often loses flexibility. They become defensive, rigid, afraid to risk anything, and eventually the position collapses anyway. There is wisdom in knowing what must be protected, and wisdom in knowing what must eventually be released. Not every loss is failure. Sometimes loss is transformation. Sometimes giving something up is what allows movement to continue. And perhaps one of the hidden wisdoms inside chess is this: strength is not always the ability to hold on to everything. Sometimes strength is the ability to let go deliberately. Chess also reveals the importance of discipline. Not loud discipline, not performative discipline. Quiet discipline. The discipline to remain calm under pressure. The discipline to continue thinking clearly after making a mistake. The discipline to resist emotional reactions. Because one of the strangest things about chess is that many games are not lost immediately after a mistake. They are lost afterward. A player blunders. Panic enters the mind. Frustration takes over. And suddenly one mistake becomes 3, then 5, then collapse. The emotional reaction causes more damage than the original error itself. And outside the game, people often experience something similar. One bad day becomes self-destruction. One failure becomes hopelessness. One rejection becomes a complete collapse in confidence. Not because the situation was unrecoverable, but because emotion took control of perception. Chess teaches something very difficult. The position on the board does not care about your frustration. Reality remains what it is. The only useful thing a player can do is calm down and continue thinking clearly from the position that exists now. Not the position they wish existed. Not the position they had 10 moves ago. The position that is actually in front of them. And this requires discipline. The ability to remain mentally present instead of emotionally consumed. The ability to continue moving carefully even after disappointment. Because composure itself becomes a strategic advantage. A calm player sees more clearly, and clarity matters, not only in chess, but almost everywhere in life. Perhaps the deepest lesson chess teaches is adaptation. No plan survives unchanged. No position remains stable forever. Every move alters the landscape. A strategy that worked earlier may become useless later. An attack may fail. A structure may collapse. An unexpected move may force an entirely new approach. And strong players understand that stubbornness can become dangerous. They adjust, reevaluate, reposition, adapt to reality as it changes. And outside the game, life often demands the same thing from us. People cling to outdated versions of themselves, old plans, old identities, old expectations, even when reality has already changed. Adaptation is difficult because it requires humility. It means accepting that the situation is no longer what we wanted it to be. But chess punishes denial quickly. The board changes whether the player accepts it or not, and perhaps life does too. There are moments where intelligence is not enough, talent is not enough, preparation is not enough. The people who continue moving forward are often the people capable of adjusting without collapsing emotionally. People who can let go of rigid expectations and respond consciously to the position now in front of them. Chess teaches that flexibility is not weakness. Sometimes it is survival. Sometimes it is wisdom. In the end, perhaps the reason chess has endured for so long is because it reflects something deeply human. Not perfectly, but enough for people to recognize themselves inside it. The board rewards patience over impulsiveness, clarity over panic, discipline over emotional reaction, long-term thinking over immediate gratification. And these principles do not matter only in chess. They quietly shape the way people move through life itself. Not every situation can be controlled. Not every outcome can be predicted. But the way we respond, the way we prepare, the way we adapt, the way we think beyond the immediate moment in front of us, these things matter. Chess does not teach people how to win at life. Life is far too complicated for that. but it does reveal patterns. And sometimes, hidden inside simple games, human beings discover ways of understanding themselves more clearly. Perhaps that is the real wisdom of chess, not the pursuit of victory, but the quiet discipline of learning how to think, move, and respond with greater awareness in a complicated world. If you want to go deeper into these ideas, we recommend the book The Moves That Matter by Jonathan Rowson. It explores the deeper lessons hidden inside chess and the way strategy, patience, discipline, and awareness extend far beyond the board itself. You'll find a link to the book in the description and in the pinned comment. You can also explore more philosophy and psychology books through our bookshop page. Ordering books from bookshop.org supports the channel and independent bookstores. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing for more videos like this. Leave a comment and share your experience. Thank you for watching.